Kenny Kunene. Signia tells its clients to keep their crypto investments to just 5%, while Magda Witskia says she believes Bitcoin is overpriced. And don't forget tonight, your Friday file, the art and the political statement in the work of Suzani Beloy. All of that to come, but first, your very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Maki Malapo. Police are investigating circumstances which led to a fatal truck accident on the N1 North Highway in Sandton that claimed two lives. According to Joburg Emergency Services, the victims were travelling in the truck before it overturned, spilling its load of cooking oil on the highway. 2 other passenger vehicles were involved in the accident. Spokesperson Robert Malaudzi says all 4 lanes have been closed off to traffic this afternoon as mop-up operations and recovery operations continue.
At this stage, the cause of the accident is still a subject of investigations. We are pleading with our motorists who are driving along the N1 North, William Nicole, to exercise caution.
Meanwhile, Joburg Metro Police spokesperson Xolani Fihla says officers are working to reopen the highway as soon as possible.
Hopefully they will do their best to make sure that it is cleaned up as quick as possible. But with the severity of that accident, it might take a bit of time, maybe an hour at the most, or an hour and a half or 2 hours.
In the east of Johannesburg, the family of 15-year-old Preeti Mahlangu, who was run over by a car and killed in June, has accused the Germiston police station of failing to adequately investigate the case. This comes after the matter was once again postponed at the Germiston Magistrates Court today. 67-year-old Martha van der Walt, who faces a charge of culpable homicide for the teen's death, appeared briefly before the court. Proceedings were quickly adjourned, with the state citing outstanding evidence in the form of a video which captured the moment Van der Walt's car rammed into a group of girls, killing the victim. Thandulu Hlengcobo has more.
Mahlangu family spokesperson Mzwandile Soyaya says the way the investigating officers are handling the matter is jeopardizing the case.
From the information that I gathered now coming out of court is that Colonel Mahlangu only went yesterday to try and get the cell phone that is got the footage that is required by the court.
He says the officers' actions have left the family feeling as though Preeti's death is not worth investigating.
So which means Preeti Mahlangu is not as important as Germiston Police Station is alluding to the community.
The family says it will continue to demand justice until those responsible for Preeti's death are held accountable. Thandulu Hlengcobo, Eyewitness News.
Patriotic Alliance leader Gayton McKenzie has accused the ANC of waging a silent war against his party, particularly at local government. Although McKenzie has pledged his support for President Cyril Ramaphosa, he says it's on a matter of principle that he has threatened to resign from his position. He threatened to step down as minister on Tuesday if the PA's Deputy President, Kenny Kunene, is not reinstated as Joburg MMC. Kunene was sworn in as a councillor once again this afternoon, and it follows his resignation 2 months ago amid the controversy sparked by his presence at the scene of a police arrest. Lindsay Dentlinger has those details.
PA leader Gayton McKenzie addressed supporters in a live stream this afternoon after a midnight Facebook post announcing why he would be withdrawing the party from the Government of National Unity and quitting as Sport, Arts and Culture Minister. McKenzie says he can't expect his deployees to step back from roles in coalitions and not do the same.
Those people are going to get less now. The speakers, the MECs, they're going to get less. Why am I asking people to stand back while I'm still at the table?
He says he won't allow his party to be dictated to by EFF leader Julius Malema as the parties tussle for the transport portfolio in the city of Johannesburg.
Tuesday morning, if I don't resign, you must never vote for the PA again.
McKenzie says only Kunene's reinstatement as Transport MMC will make him retract his decision. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
We move to the capital, where all witnesses who have testified before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this week have agreed that Police Minister Senzo Mkunu's instruction to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team was misguided. KwaZulu-Natal NPA head Elaine Harrison also echoed the sentiments during her testimony at the Commission in Pretoria today. She says the unit was making progress in finalising politically motivated cases before Mkunu gave an instruction to dissolve it. Alpha Ramushana has the story.
The legality of Police Minister Minister Senzo Mkunu's instruction to disband the Political Killings Task Team continues to be under scrutiny. The Commission has so far heard claims that Mkunu directly interfered with the duties of the National Police Commissioner, while others allege he acted to protect the interests of criminal syndicates by dissolving the unit. Today, KZN NPA head Elaine Harrison also questioned the rationale behind Mkunu's instruction to disband the task team.
You know, after everything is said and done, and everything that went into providing the coordinated approach, I would have strongly motivated against the de-establishment.
In a letter, Mkunu stated that he sought to disband the unit because he believed it added no value to policing. However, it remains the Commission's responsibility to determine whether Mkunu acted unlawfully. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And in the US, President Donald Trump has announced a new wave of tariffs, including a 100% levy on branded or patented drug imports from October 1st, unless a company is building a factory in the US. Unveiling the industry-focused measures, Trump said Washington will also impose a 25% import tax on all heavy-duty trucks and 50% levies on kitchen and bathroom cabinets. Writing on his Truth Social platform yesterday, the president cited the large-scale flooding of these products into the United States by other outside countries as the reason for the raft of measures as a means to protect U.S. manufacturers. The announcements come despite calls from U.S. businesses for the White House not to impose further tariffs. The European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations has called for urgent discussions to make sure Trump's plans for new tariffs do not cause any harm to patients in the EU or the U.S. Gold's trading at $3,781.16 an ounce. The rand at 17.36 to the dollar, at 23.27 to the pound, at 20.30 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $70.68 a barrel.
And in your sport, great weekend for rugby fans with the Rugby Championship, a Women's World Cup final and URC all headed your way. Soweto Giants are playing in African qualifiers and Marc Marquez chasing a 7th MotoGP Riders' Championship in Japan.
A look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 24. Pretoria is at 10 and 26. Vereeniging also at lows of 10 degrees, reaching highs of 24 as well. A fine start for the mother city, becoming partly cloudy along with fresh southeasterly winds at a low of 14 and a high of 27 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Police are investigating circumstances which led to a fatal truck accident on the N1 North Highway in Sandton that claimed 2 lives.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. EWN Traffic.
Well, in 4 ways, we're still dealing with that fatal accident you've heard in Eyewitness News. N1 North before Winnie Mandela Drive. This is causing more than an hour delay all the way from Beyers Naudé. So if you're leaving Roodepoort, heading towards the northern suburbs, rather travel via Northgate and use Christian de Wet, Northumberland and Witkoppen as an alternative. And then maybe you can get back on the highway at Winnie Mandela Drive or Rivonia Road. Also slow-moving traffic still. This is traveling towards the Joburg CBD from Houghton. There's an accident scene on the N1 that's near the double-decker section already, causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Killarney Bends, while in the mother city. Heading into the CBD, there's slow-moving traffic on the elevated freeway. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic into outbound, approaching airport approach. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, banking on local growth with Club Med South Africa to bring the first resort of its kind to the country. Good evening, welcome to the program. I'm Stephen Grootes. I've been fascinated watching the sort of song and dance from Gayton McKenzie around whether or not he'll stay in the National Coalition. And this is all about Kenny Kunene, the deputy leader of the Patriotic Alliance. I mean, to sort of slightly oversimplify, Kenny Kunene was found at the home of a sort of wanted criminal by the police. He then was suspended by his own party. Gayton McKenzie said, we'll conduct an independent investigation, but I know that he will be cleared. Then the independent investigation from one of the Sandton law firms, which as far as I know, only spoke to people that either work for or are friends of Kenny Kunene and no one else, cleared him, and now Gayton McKenzie is saying if he's not reinstated as the member of the Mayoral Committee for Transport in Joburg, we'll pull out of the National Coalition. And the question I keep coming back to is, and if you do, so what? I mean, you're not the biggest party, and this is the brutal fact of electoral maths. If the ANC and the DA decide to work together, well, then the coalition holds. It is that simple. I mean, we can argue and scream and shout and be frustrated by that all we like, but that's what the numbers tell us. And at the same time, in Joburg, things are in a bit of a flux, so I don't know what's going to happen there, but I don't see what Gayton McKenzie really gets from leaving the coalition, except, and this is a sort of political view rather than a business one, is that he might want to be differentiating himself from the coalition, and it's all about that. Never mind, though, there's plenty of money to talk about with Gayton McKenzie because he also controls funding for the arts. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And there's a story here about governance and transport and Joburg too with Kenny Kunene, the chair of the National Arts Festival. Professor Sipao Magala will be on your radio in just a moment. Also on your radio tonight, Magda Wazitskia, the co-founder of Signia, essentially saying that you should not really get too involved in sort of speculative cryptocurrency trading. Very interesting comments about it and maybe a note of caution. I'll ask her a question as well about how she sees the sort of long-term future of banking in a cryptocurrency era. Suzani Beloy, a really striking visual artist. So he's someone that really focuses on communities, how they're living, the structures they're living in. And there's a bit of politics to his work. I mean, like all great art has a bit of politics, often quite a lot of politics to it. But we'll talk about that. And don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz as well this evening. All sorts of questions coming through. Good to hear from you on 011 883 0702 021 446 0567 and voice notes tonight on 072 702 1702. Good evening, 12 minutes after 6.
The Money Show
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
and DSTV channel 856.
Well, the arts and culture is also the Minister of Sports, Minister Gayton McKenzie, saying about a week ago now that arts festivals have not been reporting back to his department about the money that they've spent. He's asking questions about their accountability. Now, if you run one of these festivals, I'm thinking of the National Festival of the Arts, for example, around Makanda, you would be very nervous. Government funding really matters. And from what I can see, Gayton McKenzie, the minister, is not basing his comments necessarily on fact. Professor Sipao Magala is the chair of the National Arts Festival. Professor, good evening. I do appreciate the time. We know government funding is absolutely vital for you. Do you believe the minister's not being fair when he claims festivals are not accounting for their money?
Good evening, Stephen. Thanks for having me here. Well, there might be such cases, but we don't know of them. We have a collective of 13 festivals, including the National Arts Festival, which I represent, and many others, Vote Fierce, Kaka and Ka, that actually have had a relationship with the department and have reported on the expenditure on the funds that they have received before. And the department has a very interesting system whereby you are paid in tranches. In other words, you don't get the final tranche unless you have submitted a comprehensive report together with audited statements. And these 10 festivals that I speak on behalf of have, complied with all these requirements. So I'm not sure what the minister is referring to.
Okay, so in other words, if you were able to hold, say, a successful National Festival of the Arts, to do that, you would automatically have had to comply with all of the regulations just to get the final bits of money that you needed.
Absolutely. That is when you have funding, when you get funding from the Department of Arts and Culture. Unfortunately, this year, we hosted the National Arts Festival without any funding from the National Department of Arts and Culture. And when we did in years before, 2024, you would recall that we celebrated our 50th anniversary. We did get a tranche from the National Department of Arts and Culture, and we reported accordingly. Unfortunately, since then, we have tried to engage with the department. We've sent several letters, but we never got a response.
Do you know why that decision was taken? Do you know if that money's going to other festivals? I mean, that maybe we could make a case. Could the money be going elsewhere? We are a sports-mad society.
We can only speculate based on the minister's social media activity, which I think is a very unfortunate way of communicating. Hence, we are calling for an urgent engagement with the minister. I mean, he has made some claims online saying some of the festivals haven't been accounting. And he does say, fortunately, that they will fund festivals, but there are hard questions to be asked. And we are ready to listen to those hard questions. The most unfortunate thing is that some of these festivals have taken place already, and we had to do so at a significantly reduced amount. And as you might know, Joy of Jazz begins today, and it begins without the funding from the National Department of Arts and Culture. And these are some of the festivals that were part of the flagship projects supported by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
And I mean, if he's demanding that you are accountable with money you get from government, he too, it must follow, he too must be accountable for spending it elsewhere. He must explain where it went. And it can't just be in the fun and games of social media. It needs to be in the dry, audited accounts that are submitted to whoever they're submitted to.
Yes, absolutely. And most importantly, we're interested to know, why certain decisions are taken, what, drives those decisions. In other words, is there a policy framework that is being followed in terms of funding certain cultural events and not others? And, right now we are dealing with a difficult situation of, changing schedules. You might know that one of the major funding open calls projects is Mzansi Golden Economy. And it was changed suddenly, and we're told that we have to apply afresh, and the projects that were considered were those that started in July. And unfortunately, the National Arts Festival, which has been around for over 50 years, happens in June. In fact, starts in June until the first week of July, meaning we lost out on that opportunity on the basis of the new time frames that were introduced unilaterally.
And it's also thoughtless, isn't it? It's almost as if the people who are making the decisions don't really understand the sector they're working in.
Well, the most unfortunate thing is that we do not know the reasoning behind. I would confidently say really is unreasonable, but we don't even know the reasons. Hence, we've been calling for a robust and constructive engagement with the minister and the department.
Professor, thank you. Professor Sapao Mahala is the chair of the National Arts Festival. You can imagine the frustration from people in this sector. Your views on arts festivals, I found that they are very valuable. They're outlets. They make us think about ourselves and each other. You may have a different view. 011 883 0702 021 446 0567.
702. Stephen is on X
at Stephen Grootes.
Well, it's emerged this week the bank Signia is warning investors it deals with that they should not put more than 5% of their discretionary assets or living annuities into crypto funds. Of course, there's a huge push in this direction. The US president leading the charge to an extent. Magda Wizitskia is the co-founder of Signia Limited. Magda, good evening. Good to talk to you again. I do appreciate the time. Thank you. Around the world, there's huge enthusiasm for cryptocurrencies and particularly for Bitcoin. You seem to be a bit more cautious.
Well, Stephen, nice to be on the show. I'm actually not sufficiently cautious not to launch a Bitcoin fund.
Sure.
So I do believe that there is a space after all these years for some exposure to cryptocurrencies for those who have an interest in this field. However, given that Bitcoin has been hogging the limelight, because of President Trump's policies and making it a reserve currency and the share price of Bitcoin or price of Bitcoin skyrocketing, all of a sudden you have a lot of unsophisticated investors trying to benefit from what is a highly volatile asset with no real economic underpin to it, and which to date has been used as a speculative investment. However, there is this interest, and what Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have going for them is that the prices are not correlated to the movements of the market or the economy. So, my belief is that there is a space for crypto investing in Bitcoin in particular, or a case in point, in anyone's well-diversified portfolio. But you don't want to bet everything on something that could fall in value as sharply as it has risen. Okay. So I'm not anti, I'm just pro caution.
I mean, maybe I've sort of misunderstood what you've been saying, but in a way, when you say that there's really nothing to underpin the value, and yet you're launching a fund that includes this, I mean, it's almost as if you're in a position where you kind of have to do something because otherwise people are going to go elsewhere. I mean, you're kind of stuck following the crowd a little bit, maybe.
No, not quite that. I think we're the first company in South Africa to launch a Bitcoin fund. So it's not about, people necessarily going anywhere else. We don't really have competition in this field at the moment in South Africa. But it's more about, I actually do fundamentally believe that, having some crypto exposure is good. It's the exposure to the new world and the new economy. But you need to do so in a careful manner. And at the moment, if you want to buy Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, you need to understand the concept of cryptocurrency exchanges, of wallets, of spreads, of trading, all the things that people actually have no idea about, and can find themselves in trouble by, relying on their own understanding of what is actually quite a complex financial services space. So launching a Bitcoin fund was motivated by offering investors who want exposure to Bitcoin a safe way of doing that in a protected environment where, a professional regulated financial services company is looking after that investment rather than allowing people to, speculate on unknown exchanges.
There is a group of people, and Magda, I'm sure you've met them, so have I, who believe that cryptocurrencies are going to take over the world, that governments as we know it aren't going to be able to regulate money in any way, central banks will have nothing to do, that banking as we know it is going to disappear. What role do you believe banks like yours are going to be playing 20 years from now? I mean, do you think the role of banks like yours and central banks is going to be as big as it is now?
So apologies. Signia isn't a bank. We're an asset management company. But the question is very valid in the context of what will artificial intelligence and AI do to asset management, and then wrap it around cryptocurrencies as a way of investing. And the question of where will an asset management company be in 20 years' time is a very good one. In terms of central banks, I don't think that, and Bitcoin has been around for, over more than a decade. And initially, when it appeared and blockchains appeared on the horizon, the narrative became one of decentralized financing and irrelevance of central banks and irrelevance of normal currencies. The truth of the matter is that, one, it hasn't happened. Two, it's unlikely to happen. So what can be done to prevent kind of this complete decentralization of monetary policy? Regulation. It's as simple as that, and we have already seen regulation of crypto investments coming to the fore in absolutely every jurisdiction. So the idea that central banks will allow themselves to be sidelined in terms of, the control of inflation or managing of economic growth in any one country, I think is, slightly delusional. Or at least it won't happen in our lifetime. Maybe delusional is wrong. It won't happen in our lifetime. So, I'm not particularly concerned about that. I think the central banks in a decade or 20 years will be exactly where they are now.
Magda, thanks very much indeed. Really appreciate it. Magda Wizitskia is the co-founder of Signia Limited, the asset manager. 25 minutes now after 6.
The Money Show.
The markets.
Viv Govender's portfolio manager at Rand Swiss. Viv, good evening. Strong day for platinum and gold bouncing back quite strongly too.
Yes, I mean, we had some news from the U.S. around inflation that meant that interest rates were coming down, or the charge of interest coming down increased, and that obviously meant that people are looking back at what they consider to be harder value assets, and obviously gold is the direct comparison, and platinum seems to be working in conjunction with gold at the moment. I think people are seeing it as almost a substitute for gold. So when gold rises, we do tend to find platinum rising at the moment.
I mean, how much, it's an impossible question, but platinum through this week's actually, I think, risen more than gold. We know that platinum production is down, platinum stocks are down, platinum's also at a much lower point, of course, than gold in the cycle, which may suggest there's a lot more room for platinum than there is for gold over the next year.
Most certainly, there could be. Look, I mean, the thing with platinum is that it has a very, very strong industrial use, which is basically for catalytic converters. And then as the emergence of electric vehicles started to rise over the last little while, what we saw was people moving away from it. But there's a well-known economic principle is that when people think that the demand for something is going to fall, what often happens is supply falls before the demand falls. People stop producing it before the demand totally disappears, and then we do tend to find a bit of a shortage happening there. That could be one reason for that. But I think also the fact of the matter is, platinum is a precious metal. Platinum jewelry is something that people will accept, like they would accept gold jewelry. It's not at the same level as silver. It's much closer to gold. And if the gold price is 3,800, just about, the platinum price at less than half that, just becomes quite an attractive alternative. And for those that don't recall, there's a reason that gold records are smaller than platinum records in terms of the amount of sales. It's because at one point in time, platinum was the more valuable metal.
Yeah, I remember those days. They seem like a long time ago now, and I suppose they were. GDP figures coming in the US in the last couple of days, those inflation figures as well, they do seem to tell us that despite everything, the US economy is very strong.
Look, I don't know for certain, quite frankly. The reason for this is that, we've getting some really massive revisions on some of these U.S. economic numbers, especially around employment and so on. We had that employment number for the last year until March this year, basically, come out at 1 million jobs less than had been calculated and estimated for the previous year. I do wonder just, how accurate some of these measurements are around the U.S. at the moment and where we'll see revisions coming through, number one. Some of the economic numbers do seem to be in conflict. The employment numbers versus the growth numbers do seem to some extent be in conflict. And there are also conflicting questions about demand of the U.S. economy, etc. The one thing I would have to mention is that if the U.S. economy is growing, we have seen a real change in the structure of that economy over the last little while. Not this quarter, but the last one. I saw, for instance, that AI, the AI infrastructure, out there, the extra investment in AI infrastructure actually contributed more to that growth number that they got in the last period, not this period, but the last period, than all of consumer spending, which is like 2/3 of that economy. That's an insane number. So obviously it's a change in AI versus a change in consumer spending, not the magnitude. But it's crazy that that was true. So I do think that we're having a changing economy, and I do wonder if maybe the underlying structure of the economy is changing enough that some of these stuff is based on surveys and being translated over to models, because the underlying economy is changing so much, those models may not be as applicable, and therefore we may get numbers that are not as accurate as they once were.
Sure. And then the Rand, quite a strange week in a way. It was a little stronger earlier in the week, but ending it a little weaker.
Yeah, if you look at the dollar to Rand at the moment, it ended the week at just about 17.50 or something like that. If you basically 17.35. If you look at the last 5 days or so, there's been a pre-range bound just around about 17.30 to 17.40. And the fact that we ended the week right in the middle of that is, I think, appropriate. But I do think that the GDP number that we got, like you mentioned, was quite hot yesterday. The number does reduce the chance of a rate cut. And I think that's why we saw the weakness come through in the currency, because obviously the dollar strengthened. And today's inflation number, completely opposite, brought basically the people believe in rate cuts, more to the fore. That's based on the rand. It's going to strengthen again.
Viv Govender, thanks so much. Portfolio Manager at Rand Swiss. Really appreciate the time on The Money Show. Just gone 6:30. Time for the latest eyewitness news now. Marky, good evening to you. Mop-up operations on the N1 was quite a big accident.
It is, and mop-up and recovery operations are continuing this evening on the N1 North Highway in Sandton following a fatal accident on the route this afternoon that claimed 2 lives. All 4 lanes have been closed off to traffic. Joburg Emergency Services says the victims were travelling in the truck before it overturned, spilling its load of cooking oil on the highway. Meanwhile, here's Joburg Metro Police spokesperson Xolani Fihla.
Hopefully they will do their best to make sure that it is cleaned up as quick as possible. But with the severity of that accident, it might take a bit of time, maybe an hour at the most, or an hour and a half or 2 hours.
We move to KwaZulu-Natal. We move to the capital, where KwaZulu-Natal NPA head Elaine Harrison has told the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that she believes the Provincial Political Killings Task Team has made notable progress in finalising cases. She concluded her testimony before the Commission in Pretoria today. Harrison had assigned a team of NPA prosecutors to support the unit and ensure its cases were effectively prosecuted. Since its establishment, the task team has handled 612 dockets, of which 297 have been finalised. Harrison maintains there was meaningful progress in the unit's investigations.
If you look at our database with regards to the cases, the finalized cases, for example, in 2025, all the matters that have been recorded there are successful prosecutions. But we also look at in the previous years, how have we been doing with regards to those cases? And we do find that we rate ourselves regarding, I wouldn't say always successful, but finalized.
She says there's evidence suggesting the task team was headed in the right direction.
If you look at prior to the dedicated capacity and after the dedicated capacity was provided, you will find that there was a higher finalization rate of these cases and higher success rates of the cases.
Harrison has concluded her testimony at the Commission. We move to KwaZulu-Natal, where the Provincial Transport Department has condemned the abuse of blue lights by unauthorised persons and has vowed to take legal steps on those flouting the regulation. This comes after Road Traffic Inspectorate officers confiscated a blue dashboard light during a roadblock in Umhlanga in the north of Durban last week. While it was later established the vehicle was transporting a municipal official, the department says the use of the light was illegal. Transport MEC's Boniso Duma briefed the media in Pietermaritzburg today.
Upon searching their vehicles, the RTI discovered they were in violation of Regulation 176 of National Traffic Act of 93 of 96. RTI found the following: 1 blue light reserved for traffic officers, members of South African Police Service, members of SNDF Military Service.
Duma says although the vehicles were transporting a municipal official, the law must be enforced.
Our RTI has subsequently been conducting by the acting municipal manager from Nongoma local municipality confirmed that the drivers were transporting the deputy mayor and that they were not aware of the legal framework regarding identification lights.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York, and he says recognition of a Palestinian state is sheer madness, it's insane, and they won't do it, adding that recognition by several other countries is disgraceful. As Netanyahu took to the stage, dozens of people filed out of the room in New York in protest as some applaud. Netanyahu says loudspeakers in Israel are broadcasting the speech into Gaza. His speech comes as Donald Trump says he will not allow Israel to annex the Israeli-occupied West Bank and is due to meet Netanyahu on Monday. Israel is facing increasing global pressure to end the conflict and occupation of the West Bank. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 10 and 11 degrees and peak at highs of 24 and 26 degrees in the mother city. It will start off fine and become a partly cloudy day along with fresh southeasterly winds at a low of 14 and a high of 27 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News. Mop-up and recovery operations are continuing this evening on the N1 North Highway in Sandton following a fatal truck accident on the route this afternoon.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Rudeport heading towards Four Ways, we're still dealing with that accident scene. It's fatal. N1 North before Winnie Mandela Drive, still causing about an hour delay from Beyers, Naudé. So if you're heading towards the northern suburbs, rather travel through Northgate using Christian Tivet, Northumberland, Witkoppen. Also, in the Nooitgesig area, slow-moving traffic into Soweto. That's on the N17 westbound between the N1 and the Soweto Highway. Also, if you are in the Joburg CBD coming from Houghton, there's an accident scene M1 southbound near the double-decker section. This is causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Killarney Bends. Mother City, slow-moving traffic. This is heading into the CBD on the elevated freeway. Also, traffic is a bit sluggish. N2 outbound heading towards airport approach. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Beyond every boardroom is a story waiting to be written. A story of a business and its potential, of a community that thrives, a hospital that serves, and energy that powers millions of dreams. It's a story that only gets better with a partner that has the expertise and solutions to make it a reality. At ABSA CIB, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write it with us, because your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Hola Mzansi, Dr. Kumalu here. The first official Bafana Bafana game is now live at 10bet. With Bafana Megaways from 10bet, everyone can play for Bafana Bafana. Join now at 10bet.co.za.
10bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. License number 921096661.
Save more on the brands you love at Dis-Chem. Stay fresh and confident all day with 2+1 cheapest free on any 150ml Shield deodorants and 50ml roll-ons. And treat your hair with our fantastic 2+1 cheapest free on any Tresemme hair care products. Plus enjoy 2+1 cheapest free on any Lifebuoy products. T's and C's apply. Don't miss out. Offers valid until 19 October. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Life can sometimes throw dumb inconveniences your way. Just listen.
My toddler had a meltdown at 11 p.m. because we didn't have any yogurt.
At least baby quart doesn't exist. Yet.
I saved some snacks. Next thing, gone. And it's 9 p.m.
Fire your entire household, Jabu.
I went to shower and there was no soap left.
That's awkward. Don't allow life to inconvenience you. Come around to NJET. We're open 24/7. Quick, sharp, and co. At your convenience. NJET. With us, you are number one.
The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
22 minutes to 7 the time. I must tell you, I was quite troubled to hear about what really does look like intimidation against Sungezu Zibi. He is the leader of Rise Mzansi, but he's really the chair of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts in this case. He's been leading some of the inquiries, some of the questioning into what's been happening at the Road Accident Fund. And let's just be clear, the Road Accident Fund is a mess. The model is a mess. The claims of corruption, that some law firms got a huge amount of business and others didn't, that's a mess. I mean, it's just a mess in every single direction. The minister herself, Barbara Creasy, has said that she needs to, re-look at the whole thing. And I do wonder if there'll be another model. I don't have any suggestions as to what it would be. The board does seem to be trying to fix things. But when you consider how much money has flowed through it, it is a hard fact of life that, in fact, you would almost be surprised if there wasn't some kind of intimidation. And I was listening to the head of the NPA in KwaZulu-Natal today, Elaine Harrison. She was giving testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And she was talking about the pattern of, tenderpreneurs and politicians who are involved this is sort of, very much a summary of what she was saying, in murders. And a witness to something would be basically paid off. If they wouldn't take money, they would be killed. And she said there was a pattern of this. And there's a sort of pattern of this intimidation. So I was very troubled when Songezo Zibi said that, and very heartened that so many organizations have said they support him. But I do think Songezo Zibi is right, and he is a former journalist, so I do sort of feel a sort of duty to say this. I do think he needs some better protection. He's paying for it himself, I understand, at the moment, or certainly got it through private means. This is not something that someone should have to face alone. 20 minutes to 7.
EWN Sport.
Talking of not being alone, Anthony, the Boks will have the full nation behind them.
Yeah, good evening, Stephen. That is very true, as the Springboks will be set to take on Los Pumas tomorrow. They've been forced to make a late change to the matchday 23. Prop Oxen Chair has withdrawn due to a niggle, with Boan Fenter getting promoted to the starting lineup. Marco van Staden has been called up and will provide a hooker cover, with Jan Hendrik Wessels moving now to prop backup. The Rugby Championship is wide open, with all four nations still in the hunt. The Wallabies head to Eden Park Saturday morning, set to meet the All Blacks, while Durban will be hosting the Boks against Argentina in the afternoon. Boks captain Siyakolisi says the double world champs will need to be prepared for a battle.
I'm playing the semi-final tomorrow because ourselves and Argentina have the opportunity to win the rugby championship. We just want to play winning rugby, and no matter what it takes for us to win, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go out there and play test match rugby and respect Argentina, because they're an amazing team, and I don't think they get enough credit because they're really a strong team and they've shown what they could do from last year and this year as well. They're just getting better and better.
Kickoff is 5:10. At the same time, the Women's Rugby World Cup final has England and Canada meeting at Twickenham. The weekend will begin this evening for the Rugby World with opening matches of the URC season. We have the Stormers hosting reigning champs Leinster, while the Sharks are at the Glasgow Warriors. Saturday, the Bulls lock horns with Ospreys, and the Lions head to Cardiff Rugby. In a golf at the Ryder Cup, Team Europe have taken a 3-1 lead in the morning session in New York over Team USA. The four balls are about to tee off in front of American President Donald Trump. While in football, tomorrow sees a Kaizer Chiefs hosting Angolan side Kapuskop a goal down in their second leg of the CAF Confed Cup qualifier. Meanwhile, Orlando Pirates are 3 goals to the good against Lesotho side Diodi in the CAF Champions League qualification. In selected Betway Premiership outings, tabletoppers Sekhukhune United meet Polokwane City, Mamelodi Sundowns set to host Richards Bay. The big clash in the Premier League is Sunday evening, with Newcastle and Arsenal meeting. Marc Marquez could wrap up a 7th MotoGP Riders' Championship in Japan if he scores 3 more points than his brother Alex. The sprint is Saturday morning at 8 a.m. with the main race at 7 on Sunday. And in netball, the Baby Proteas will be playing in a first ever World Cup youth semi-final this evening. At 7 p.m. they meet Australia. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
Hi. I need balloons.
Sure.
Now, my dog barked. Pretty sure he said potty.
Okay.
He was like...
At the Crazy Store, you'll find every excuse to celebrate.
Hi, me again. My houseplant survived another week. Where's your confetti?
And everything you need. Helium, gift wrap, dress up, and more. The Crazy Store. Hey, you never know what you might find. To have a good party.
When captains of industry gather to discover how AI and other exponential technologies can future-proof their organizations, they'll find out what matters most at the Stellenbosch Business Institute C-Leader Summit. Global thought leader Dr. Vivian Ming will challenge you on what it means to lead an automated world by unlocking the full power of human intelligence in the age of AI. Join her and other thought leaders by visiting sbinstitute.co.za to book your seat at the Stellenbosch Business Institute C-Leader Summit, 2nd of October at the Forum in Bryanston. Stellenbosch Business Institute, beyond a business school.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
The Money Show.
The Friday File.
The Friday File.
16 minutes to 7. Don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz in a few moments. One of the things that South Africa does, I think, better than anyone is produce artists. And I think it's partly because of the struggles in our society that happens. And one of the people whose work is just so striking is the contemporary South African visual artist, Sizani Baloyi, who's agreed to speak to you this evening. Sizani, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us on Friday File.
Well, thank you so much to you and the listeners as well.
I was looking through some of the descriptions of your work and some of your pieces online this afternoon. And I mean, what keeps coming through, there's certain themes that are about how people live, the sort of dwellings, houses, the structures that they're living in, and the sort of, in a way, a kind of failure of the promise. I don't know if I'm getting you exactly. What is it about?
Yeah.
What exactly are you focusing on? I mean, in a way, your work is, you can't remove politics from it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's about the struggle of housing, especially in South Africa. We cannot dispute the change that has been happening, especially since 1994. But one thing that we are certainly about is that change is not accessible to everyone. And noting that most South Africans move from their own provinces into places of better employment, places with better opportunity. But when they get there, they actually don't have places of settlement. So my work speaks about the issue of housing, places of settlement, and also dives also into the rights that are being abused. You know, we have in our Bill of Rights a right to a shelter, but that is not accessible to everyone.
Is there a sort of idea there that maybe it's a shelter or it's a dwelling or it's a structure, but it's not a home?
Yeah, so I use the central figure of a shed. So instead of mostly speaking about the negative side that we do not have. So I grew up in a small community of squatter camps in Soweto in Snake Park. So when I moved from Limpopo coming to Joburg, I have this view of Joburg. You know, when you are back in the villages, when you see people coming from Joburg home, you kind of feel like Joburg is this beautiful space. You know, you walk on lawns, there's huge buildings inside. So when I first came to Joburg, little did I know that we were living in a small community of squatter camp. And I was a little bit surprised to say, oh, this place, I think even back at home, it's much better than where we are settled at this moment. So I kind of the life that they were living right there. Being able to take these lost and found pieces of corrugated iron and build homes and communities well. So that kind of like brought the inspiration to my work that,
I'm just going to ask you. Yeah, Sizani, I'm sorry. I'm just going to ask you to move around just to try and improve the reception on your cell phone. When you create these images, they're incredibly powerful. Do you find beauty in them? Is beauty something that you're interested in while you are creating these images?
Yeah, it's also something that I'm interested in. I kind of feel like our African stories have been told so much from the side of sympathy, not pride. So in my structures as well, especially the use of color, I kind of like embrace the good moments that we share in those spaces, that we are able to become a home, we are able to share meals in these spaces. And some of these sheds, when you enter into them, they are well decorated inside that you would think you are in a different space when you enter into them, you know.
I mean, I've spoken to the group Abahlali Basum Jondolo many times. You'll know them, the Shack Dwellers movement. And whenever I speak to them, I mean, I know they're sort of a political movement as well, and I can't blame them for that. But there's a sense of everything you speak of, community pride, but I would add to that organization resilience. So many things that are coming out, and none of it, and it is about, I mean, there's maybe a bit of Biko there, because it is about doing it for yourself. You don't want to rely on anyone. You don't want sympathy.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. I think being able to stand up for ourselves as well, because of most of the people, they rely much more on the government as well as dwelling on their challenges instead of embracing life and seeing how they can change their surroundings and have a better life.
I made the point that your work is political. Are you trying to change minds through your work? Is that one of your aims?
Yeah, that is one of my aims. And it's more of trying to also bring awareness, and one thing that I've noticed with most of the Sheikh dwellers as well is that some of them, they do have the ability that they can build up their own houses, just that they don't have land to kind of like do that as well. And when you try to look and investigate, some of those that are still there in Sheikhs, they do have RDP houses, but it's not them in those RDP houses, So somehow I kind of feel like politically we are also disadvantaged as well in these communities.
So Zani, I hope you don't mind me saying this, and I'm sure you're very aware of it, but there's a sort of irony in it. Your images are very powerful. They're very political. They're about a sense of poverty. And yet, they're on sale to rich people, and only rich people can buy them. I mean, I'm sure you're very aware of that.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's I kind of like have a feeling of there are people, because when I'm looking at my clientele, mostly it will be white people and black and rich people. I think it's people who kind of like relate with the work. I remember I was at Art Eye Gallery one day, and there's a guy who stood there and he was like, "This reminds me of home." And it's a Chinese guy. I was like, and I never knew that even in China they have these settlement of squatter camps, they have sheikhs such as that. And you look at Brazil, they have sheikhs as well. So there are people who have kind of like moved from that space in life, but they can still relate with my work somehow, or people who have experienced that kind of a life as well. I think they are mostly people who are more ready to connect to my work and engage with the storytelling as well.
I'm sure that some people have quite a strong reaction to your work. I'm sure they come to you and say, "Look, I felt like this or I felt like that," and it took me a while to sort of unscramble what this work was saying to me about myself.
Yeah, that's true. I met one guy in a gallery and was like, before you came in and presented your work, it was like, I looked at your work and I was angry about how the past governance has treated us and all those things. And then when I started speaking about my work, giving them the artist statement about the work, said, no, I have to go back and re-look at the work. Hopefully, because of what you are speaking about, I'm now starting to see it in your work. Instead of being in a place of being a victim, kind of like embrace being proud of who we are and where we are from.
It's quite amazing. I mean, you're from Guyana, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was in an Uber the other day and the driver asked the driver where he's from. He said, "No, I'm from a small town called Guyana." And I was like, I don't think it's a small town anymore. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, that journey from Guyana to Joburg, do you think it's still as big a difference as it was then?
Not very much, actually. I think back in those days, it was really fascinating. Now that you can I think it's about 4-hour drive if you're on max speed, but it's not fascinating as it used to be back in the day.
It's very different.
Because of mostly more of the things now, they are almost the same opportunities that you would get in Joburg. You still get them in Guyana. The infrastructure as well is developing. Things are are changing up. Actually, yeah.
Suzani, it's fascinating. Thank you. Your work, as I say, is incredibly striking, incredibly provocative, very political. Suzani Beloy is the South African visual artist. And you can go online and just have a look at some of the images that he's created, very much about kind of where we are, I suppose, as opposed to where we want to be.
Stephen Grootes.
Taking your calls
On 011-883-0702.
5 minutes now to 7, time for the Friday Biz Blitz on The Money Show. You know how it works. We give you a question. You call us. If you get the answer correct, we move on to the next question. If you get it wrong, we move on to the next caller. Okay, 011 8830702 and 021 4460567. First question on the Friday Biz Blitz. Which invention still could not give Donald Trump and Melania Trump a lift, even while they were visiting the UN building? It's one of those questions we got to listen to the words. Which invention couldn't give Donald Trump and Melania Trump a lift as they were visiting the United Nations building in New York this week? 011 8830702 021 446 0567.
Get down to Dis-Chem this Friday 26th to Sunday 28th September for our 1 weekend only 2+1 cheapest free deals on the widest range of sports supplements and energy drinks from top brands like Biogen, NPL, USN, Primal, Optimum Nutrition, Muscle Tech, 32GI and more. Get expert advice from our in-store consultants to help you reach your health and fitness goals. Excludes all advertised products. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
When captains of industry gather to discover how AI and other exponential technologies can future-proof their organizations, they'll find out what matters most at the Stellenbosch Business Institute C-Leader Summit. Global thought leader Dr. Vivian Ming will challenge you on what it means to lead an automated world by unlocking the full power of human intelligence in the age of AI. Join her and other thought leaders by visiting sbinstitute.co.za to book your seat at the Stellenbosch Business Institute C-Leader Summit, 2nd of October at the Forum in Bryanston. Stellenbosch Business Institute, beyond a business school.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za because we're your number one choice. Home in One has it all.
The Money Show, Stephen Grootes, is brought to you by ABSA CIB, banking on local growth with Club Med South Africa to bring the first resort of its kind to the country.
The Money Show, Friday Biz Blitz.
Which invention still couldn't give Donald Trump and Melania Trump a lift at the UN building, Lachodi, in Craighall Park? Do you know the answer?
The answer is an escalator.
It is an escalator, Lachodi, yes. Okay, second question. Here we go. Multi-choice is going to be controlled by which French company? We spoke to their CEO this week.
Is it Canal Plus?
It is Canal Plus, Lachodi. Okay, third question. Rupert Murdoch and Oracle's Larry Ellison are the alleged part owners of which company, which is currently owned by ByteDance?
TikTok.
Wow, Lachodi, yes. TikTok, yes. Okay. Which Formula One driver pulled out of a tyre test with Pirelli this week to be with his bulldog Roscoe because his bulldog Roscoe is sick? Which Formula One driver are we talking about, Lachodi?
Lewis Hamilton?
Sheesh, yes. Yes, Lachodi, wow. Okay, yes. So he pulled out of the Pirelli test because his dog is in a coma. All right, Lachodi, you're on a roll. Here we go. Lisa Cook is a governor of which bank? Oh, Lachodi, don't fail me now.
United States Reserve Bank?
You're almost there on the wording, Lachodi. I mean, you've had such a roll. Come on, it's the US what? Come on, Lahodi.
Federal Reserve.
Yes, Lahodi, it is the US Federal Reserve.
Yay.
Okay. We've only got 2 questions left. Here we go. Remgro, a holding company chaired by Johan Rupert, controls about 20% of which Dutch beer in South Africa?
I'm going to take a guess and say Heineken.
Oh, Lahodi, it's Heineken.
Wrong one.
No, it is Heineken. Did someone give you the answers to this in advance? Wow. Okay. Name the $1 trillion company that has invested $100 billion in OpenAI.
Would that be Apple?
Oh, no, Lahodi, it's not Apple. Oh, Lahodi.
My God.
No. Wow, Lahodi, I can't believe it. No. Okay. The $1 trillion company that's invested $100 billion in OpenAI. Dev and Midrand, do you know the answer? Dev is gone. Robin Fairlands, do you know the answer?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA, yes. Oh, Rob, congratulations. Oh, Lahodi. It's 7 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good evening, I'm Mikey Malapo. We continue with the latest on your roads. All 4 lanes on the N1 North Highway in Sandton remain closed off to traffic this evening following a fatal truck accident on the route earlier today. 2 people died this afternoon when a truck overturned, spilling its load of cooking oil on the highway. It's understood that the pair were occupants of the truck and were declared dead on the scene. While the cause of the accident is unknown at this stage, mop-up and recovery operations are continuing, with GMPD officials also working to reopen the highway as soon as possible. Joburg Emergency Services spokesperson Robert Malaudzi is urging motorists to approach the route with caution.
At this stage, the cause of the accident is still a subject of investigations. We are pleading with our motorists who are driving along the N1 North, William Nicol, to exercise caution as rescuers are still on site attending to this incident.
In the Western Cape, the National Council of Provinces has voted against a resolution by the provincial government to dissolve the Knysna municipality over persistent service delivery issues. All provinces except the Western Cape have supported a report from the Select Committee on Cooperative Governance. The report recommends that the province play a more supportive role instead. Local government MEC Anton Bredell and the DA have been accused by Knysna Mayor Thando Matika of political meddling in the ANC-led council. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Following a visit to Knysna on Tuesday to meet with the council and interested parties, the Select Committee on Cooperative Governance says it agrees with residents that dissolving the council is not the route it should follow. It would force fresh elections at the town and have an administrator take over for at least 90 days. But the DA's Nicholas Gotzel says the committee's report is skewed and favours organisations which are aligned with council leadership.
There have been repeated E. coli outbreaks, widespread infrastructure collapse and non-compliance with statutory obligations like the Water Services Development Plan.
However, committee chairperson Mxolisi Kaunda says the new political leadership, which was installed in February, is not failing in its constitutional duties.
So they are all working very hard to recover from the challenges of the previous administration.
The committee has resolved to return to the town in the first half of the new year to assess progress. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
In Ekurhuleni, angry Katlehong residents have threatened to shut down both the Germiston police station and the local magistrates court if investigations continue to stall in the case of late teenager Preeti Mahlangu. The teen died in June after 67-year-old Martha van der Walt rammed her car into a crowd of girls attending a Zulu traditional ceremony in Germiston. Van der Walt, who's currently out on 5,000 rand bail, faces a charge of culpable homicide for the teenager's death. She appeared briefly before the Germiston Magistrates Court today, where the matter was postponed for further investigation. Mahlangu family spokesperson Mzwandile Soyaya says they believe police are deliberately moving at a snail's pace.
We had a serious belief onto the justice system, but the way things are happening now, it's best we do the shutdown in Germiston. For them to take us serious. For them, it's easy to say on such a day. There is no postponement. on the family of Mahlangu. There is no postponement to say on the 28th of October, Pretty Mahlangu will be hit by the car. Pretty is dead. She's gone.
4 schools have been flagged for concerning reports sexual assault cases in the Eastern Cape at the hands of educators. The Provincial Education Department says at least 8 teachers have been suspended for allegedly assaulting learners this month alone. In a statement released today, the MEC Fundile Gade has urged learners to come forward and report sexual offences. Ntokozo Khumalo has more.
The Eastern Cape government has launched a multidisciplinary investigation into the rise of sexual offences at several high schools in the province. The department has noted that most cases go unreported because of a lack of trust in their matters being addressed. The department has implemented new support measures that will enable students to report their cases. Provincial Education MEC Fundile Gade.
There could be possible other pockets of other schools that have been practicing this, because we are picking up that this has been institutionalized in one way or another.
Gade adds that parents and communities need to work together to protect learners. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News.
And finally, in Sandton, excitement is in the air as jazz lovers from different parts of the world come together to celebrate the smooth genre at the Central International Convention Centre this evening. The 26th Standard Bank World Class Jazz Festival will be marking its first day of festivities tonight, with celebrations expected to go well into the next morning. Some attendees say they're ready to spend the whole night taking in timeless magic brought by the platitude of highly sought-after artists.
My expectation for tonight is to have fun, the experience, everything, because it's my first time. I'm excited to see Amanda Black, our South African, and Elaine.
If ever they can manage to place the US artist, I'm pro-South African though. We love our South African artists, but if ever they can scatter them.
What I'm expecting is new sound, because there are a lot of new artists that I haven't heard before.
Gold's trading at $3,775.69 an ounce. The rand at 17.37 to the dollar, at 23.27 to the pound, at 20.31 to the euro. Brent crude oils at $70.24 a barrel.
Traffic remains sluggish. This is heading towards four-ways leaving Rudaport due to an earlier accident, N1 North. That accident seen before Winnie Mandela Drive. Expect delays all the way from Beyers Naudé. Traffic remains sluggish driving through the Joburg CBD. M1 South, that's between Killarney, Benz and the Crown Interchange, and also in the Mother City. Look out for slow-moving traffic. This is heading into the CBD on the elevated freeway.
Look at your weather. Partly cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 24. Pretoria is at 10 and 26. Vereeniging also reaching lows of 10, reaching highs of 24 degrees. A fine start for Cape Town, becoming partly cloudy along with fresh southeasterly winds at a low of 14 and a high of 27 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. All 4 lanes on the N1 North Highway in Sandton remain closed off to traffic this evening following a fatal truck accident on the route earlier today.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
The Money Show, Stephen Grootes, is brought to you by ABSA CIB, banking on local growth with Club Med South Africa to bring the first resort of its kind to the country.
702.
You're listening to the best of The Money Show.
The Money Show.
Welcome to the best bits of The Money Show, a digest of some of the most important insights, comments, thoughts and interviews on the show this week. If you'd like to hear more, please go to our website or go to your podcast app and search for The Money Show. There might well be conversations that are relevant to someone in your life, someone in your family, someone about to make a decision or going through a financial process. Might well be worth forwarding it to them so they can listen to it too. To start, some of the news stories that were important, we thought, this week. In World Leaders, we're at the United Nations headquarters in New York for the General Assembly meeting. Our President, Cyril Ramaphosa, made the point that trade is being weaponized. The US President Donald Trump got stuck on an escalator, claimed to have a malfunctioning auto cue, and then spoke for an hour during his presentation at the UN. Taiwan suspending the export of microchips to South Africa. It seemed to be in response to a decision by Pretoria to further downgrade Taipei's main office here, forcing them to move from Pretoria to Joburg. But then 2 days later, Taiwan suspended its own export ban. Lots of questions about what Taipei is actually doing. And then Business Unity South Africa going to court. They're challenging regulations that dictate race, gender and disability targets for companies that employ more than 50 people. Equity targets, essentially. It's a story that's been going for some time, but BUSA now joining other groups in court against government. Tonight we bring you a mix of stories from the world of money from the week that has been. Your book review this week, we spoke to the investigative journalist Jeff Wicks about his story, The Shadow State. It is extraordinary how it starts. It starts with the shooting, the killing of Babita Deokaran, the Gauteng health official. And then Jeff Wicks was able to go through the networks, work out how money was moving around and who it was going to and who was involved. It's an astonishing story.
I often think back